On a busy cable-stayed bridge, an old couple is stranded in traffic with loud honks everywhere. The impatient wife tries to get her husband to honk, but he doesn't comply, so she does the honking herself and shouts at the drivers ahead of them to move. Suddenly, the cables suspending the bridge break and vehicles fall into the water below. Thankfully, some mysterious powers suspend the vehicles mid-air, repair the bridge, and return the vehicles without any casualties. The citizens watch in awe as their saviors land, declaring their intentions to keep them safe. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four watch a video coverage of the situation and contemplate who the new guys are. Currently, Reed gives a lecture about his invention and its relation to the Fantastic Four's clothes, explaining in detail how the unstable molecules are used. Afterwards, he welcomes any questions on the topic, but he is pressed about the superiority of the new saviors, the Wizard Four. At the last moment, the frustrated Reed ends the class and leaves, but soon encounters more trouble. An elevator fails, and Reed tries to save the students in it, but they are saved by Dragon Man of Wizard 4 instead. The students praise the Wizard 4 and ignore Reed. Coincidentally, a helicopter fails, and Johnny tries to save the day, but he's interrupted by Wizard, who prevents the crash. Johnny throws a fit, but Wizard knocks him away with a device instead. Later that day, Sue talks about the psychological effects of the Wizard 4's arrival on her teammates with Alicia. Ben acts uninterested, and Johnny seems frustrated. Unfortunately, a ship accident occurs, and she hurries there to prevent casualties, but meets Claw there. Claw relieves the issue before she can act, talks down to her straight to the face, and leaves. Meanwhile, Ben encounters a young girl whose cat is stuck in a tree, and he tries to help, but slips on a mysterious fluid in the process. Trapster helps her instead and receives all her thanks, while Ben gets belittled. At the Fantastic Four base, Johnny complains about the Wizard Four and suggests that they attack their base. Sue tries to calm him and asks for Reed's opinion, but the busy nerd doesn't seem offended by the new heroes. Johnny crashes out and asks for Ben's opinion. Reed recovers Wizard's sphere device from Johnny and checks it out, while Ben's nonchalant notion changes after he notices that Trapster messed with his pizza. Some days later, the Fantastic Four without Reed and the Wizard Four turn up at a children's sports event. The Wizard Four claim all the attention of the citizens, while the Fantastic Four watch helplessly as Claw creates a soccer ball for the kids to play. Wizard makes some comments to disregard the Fantastic Four's efforts and declares that he's the smartest in the world. Moments later, the furious Sue and Ben return to their base to meet Reed working hard on his research instead of touching grass like the rest of them. Sue complains about their rivals, but Johnny arrives at the scene with a fan. He gives an awkward introduction for the dude and explains his intentions to have the photographer follow him around to take pictures of his efforts so that people can see. However, a warehouse blows up and Johnny brings the photographer to safety. He wonders why the disaster occurred and stands there clueless about the whole situation, but the photographer keeps taking pictures of his failed conquest. Dragon Man joins the rest of the gang, and the mischievous Wizard notes that it's too easy. The next day, the pictures of Johnny's failure go viral, and Johnny tries to defend himself, but Ben doesn't believe him. After going back and forth on the matter, he takes the photographer out again and tries to recover his reputation by doing good deeds. But things don't go his way. He tries to help out an old lady, but she chases him away instead. He is considered a menace by the fire department, which uses water guns to put out his flames in the middle of the city. After failing consecutively, Johnny returns to the base, and Sue goes off at him for making the matter worse. He defends himself, explaining how he had no hand in the warehouse's explosion, and Reed claims that he believes him. Meanwhile, Wizard joins up with his teammates, who complain about the whole charade while holding back their villainous instincts. Claw claims that the Fantastic Four get on his nerves, and Trapster gives his opinion about their hero facade. Wizard reminds them about their deal and the plan concerning the Fantastic Four. Coincidentally, Reed shows his teammates the data he acquired on the Wizard Four and talks about their backgrounds and past affiliations. Sue asks what he intends to do about them, and Reed suggests that they have an unfriendly chat with them. The following day, the mayor thanks the Wizard Four for their heroic deeds, hands them the key to the city, and declares that they are the official heroes of the city. The elated people applaud them, and the wizard guarantees their safety as long as they are around. Shortly after, the Fantastic Four arrive, and Reed asks Wizard about his true intentions, but he refutes it while referring to Reed's words as mere jealousy. Trapster stealthily creates a slimy fluid trail towards Ben, while Wizard tries to rage bait the Fantastic Four. Unfortunately, Ben slips along the trail and falls into Dragon Man, who immediately retaliates. A fight breaks out, and members of both teams take each other one-on-one. Wizard declares his victory, and Reed notices that the people are on the Wizard's four sides. Immediately, he pulls Sue and stops Johnny's fight while telling Ben that they are leaving. Ben asks why, and he claims that they'll lose the little reputation they have left if the situation goes on. The Fantastic Four board their jet and leave. At the base, Johnny complains about the whole thing and decides to go to Japan, where he is loved. Sue talks with Reed, and they come to a realization that the Wizard Four are the ones creating the disasters they saved the people from, while also sabotaging them in the process. Seconds later, Reed collects some picture frames from the photographer and checks them on his supercomputer with a magnifying lens. They notice the Dragon Man fleeing the warehouse in the frame, and Johnny demands an apology from those who didn't believe him. Luckily, Reed picks up the Wizard's intentions after some more contemplation. However, the Wizard Four use the city's key to access the storage room where Reed's unstable molecules are. Wizard clarifies how important it is compared to robbing banks and orders Dragon Man to grab it. Immediately, they create holes in the floor to make a way to the train station to escape with the unstable molecules. Thankfully, Johnny arrives and knocks down the Wizard and Trapster. The rest of the Fantastic Four arrive, and Reed furiously asks Wizard to return the unstable molecules. The Wizard asks how they found his team, and Reed takes out Wizard's device that Johnny brought back. Wizard reveals all their schemes, including how he intended to sabotage the Fantastic Four. He orders his villainous teammates to deal with them, and the two teams exchange blows. Reed orders Ben to secure the molecule's sphere and not let it open. Instantly, Ben hits Dragon Man and recovers the sphere, but Wizard orders his team to get it back. Claw activates a wide wave attack which affects the Fantastic Four, but he gets hit by a train. Trapster tries to pick the sphere, but Johnny and Ben stop him. Dragon Man joins the fight, and Johnny hurriedly leads him away while Trapster escapes from Ben. Ben picks the sphere and asks Reed what to do next, but he is hit by Wizard's devices instead. Without wasting a second, Wizard controls Ben and lifts him out of the subway area to a busy road in the city. Reed stretches his arm to grab Ben, but the sphere falls in the process. The two teams come out, and Wizard declares their victory again as the people celebrate his team's arrival. To his surprise, Reed orders his supercomputer, and it immediately displays the scene where Wizard explains his schemes. Afterwards, the people turn against the Wizard Four, and Reed claims that he has more proof. Determined, Wizard claims that they have what they want, but Trapster calls his attention to the sphere. Reed panics as he watches the molecules leak out of the broken sphere like parasitic slimes and berates Wizard. Because he warned him, Trapster hurriedly throws off his backpack as the molecules attach to it, and Dragon Man becomes unstable after touching it. Reed asks Claw and Sue to work together to contain it, but Claw has other plans. He tries to fly off, but Sue knocks his lights out with her barrier. Reed tells Sue to do her best, and she immediately creates a large bubble that contains all the molecules. Amazed, Reed praises the exhausted Sue, while Ben and Johnny obtain the criminals before they escape. Moments later, the people celebrate the Fantastic Four for saving the day. Back at the base, Sue asks Reed about his thoughts during the ordeal and notes that he's a better person than she is. She leaves, and Reed makes fun of Wizard, who claimed to be the smartest man. Ben wakes up to the mischievous Johnny making breakfast on his chest. He furiously chases after him, but Sue mediates the conflict and asks Johnny if he caused any trouble in the city because of the weird rumors going around. She notes that they haven't done any world-saving deed for some time, and Johnny thinks for a bit. He remembers some of his troublesome acts, but refutes the allegations while looking to go out more often. Seconds later, Reed arrives and tells them about his new invention, which they all applaud, but the baffled nerd claims that he has no idea what he's going to use it for at the moment. Sue tells Reed about the weird news circulating about them, but is interrupted by the supercomputer, which informs them about the arrival of the mayor, head of police, and some officers. Immediately, Reed apologizes for whatever Johnny did, but the mayor, who's under a criminal's control, declares that he came to evict them from the building and that he will drive them out of the city if they're involved in any more heroics. Surprised, the Fantastic Four try to solve the issue peacefully, but the mayor and police boss reply furiously while clarifying how dangerous they are. A taxi comes closer, and an old crone expresses her joy on the issue because she doesn't like the Fantastic Four. Moments later, Johnny throws a fit because they mistreated his car, but Ben holds him back. Sue berates Johnny because people are watching, but Reed explains how all their privileges in the city have been revoked. Sue makes her team disappear, and they stealthily leave. Later that day, they arrive at Alicia's place, and she allows them in. They talk about the problem, and Alicia guesses that it's her father's puppet master ability at work. Ben goes on the pessimistic thought route, but Reed infers that they do more good than damage, which the others acknowledge. Reed asks Alicia to check on her dad, and Sue suggests getting normal jobs since they aren't welcomed as heroes anymore. The Fantastic Four begin menial jobs. Ben worked at metal scrap disposal, Johnny continued in his delusion, and Reed taught students who couldn't keep up with him. Ben visits Doom, and Reed checks some cow aliens to confirm if they're the culprits. Sue creates invincible playground games for children and bullies women who mock her, while Johnny fails in his camp instructor job. Later that day, the Fantastic Four return to Alicia's place to ask about her dad, but she tells them to stay away because it's dangerous. The puppet master in prison controlled his daughter and continues to use influential people on the news to incite the people to hate the Fantastic Four while receiving kingly treatment in prison. He reminisces on his first puppet and decides to move his schemes to the endgame. Luckily, the Fantastic Four settled at a new base which was not revoked by the city council. After a while, Johnny arrives with some sandwiches and offers them to them before notifying them about the police coming after them. Ben wonders how they were found and accuses the nonchalant Johnny. To their surprise, the police unveil new heavy armors, which Ben suggests is Reed's handiwork. Reed explains the pure reasons why he made the gears for them, but the police break into their base and begin their containment. After fighting at a disadvantage, Reed tells his team to stand down and declares that he will clear their names. He escapes into the sea with Sue covering his back, and the rest surrender. Shortly after, the three of them are moved to a prison room and welcomed by the puppet master. Johnny notes that it's Alicia's dad, and the puppet master begins to explain his scheme with the intention of obtaining the greatest mind, Reed. Ben tries to break out to find Reed, but is blocked by innocent policemen under the enemy's possession. Meanwhile, Reed arrives at his secret base, and the supercomputer asks why he came with the puppet master, and Reed realizes that he's under his control. At the prison, the trio tries to escape without hurting the cops, and after a while, they successfully escape with Sue's bubble. Currently at the secret base, the puppet master hurries Reed, who obediently hands him a headgear that'll improve his control abilities. He ignores Reed's explanation and orders him to switch it on immediately. The process commences, and the puppet master declares what he's feeling from the power boost. However, the fantastic trio arrives in the middle of the city and notices how quiet it is. To their surprise, everybody becomes a puppet, and their words all sync with that of the puppet master. The people surround the trio and revolt in insignificant ways, which Ben spells out, but he's made to eat his words after he gets hit by a truck twice in a row. Determined, Sue tries to control the situation but can't because of their numbers. She asks Johnny for help, but the Human Torch is hit by water guns before he can act. Sue catches Johnny midair and rushes to aid Ben. who's getting crushed by two trucks. Moments later, they arrive at the base and Sue asks the supercomputer to activate their defense system, but it turns down the request at Reed's behest. Finally, they arrive at the base to see Reed at the mercy of the Puppet Master. He orders Reed to incapacitate them, and he immediately binds them while the Puppet Master celebrates how he's able to control anyone to do his bidding. Sue tries to reach the Puppet Master with her abilities, but it becomes futile. The villain decides to control Ben too, but soon realizes that it's not working. He struggles again and tries it on the other two, but it doesn't work as planned. Furious, he orders Reed to make it work, but Reed escapes his control in no time. At the last moment, he releases his teammates from his binding, and Ben immediately takes the helmet off the Puppet Master. The Puppet Master asks why it's not working, and Reed explains in detail how their cosmic powers canceled each other out. After the chaotic experience, the mayor thanks the Fantastic Four for saving the day as usual. The police confine the Puppet Master to a more secure prison, but the mischievous villain has other plans. He takes out his teeth to take out his seed of evil, but Sue appears and takes it from him, rendering all his plans empty. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.